Welcome into today's episode of Coach's Corner. Jordan Woodruff with you. Great to have you along. Today's episode brought to you by Culligan Water. Appreciate them, and it's a good time of year to make sure you stay hydrated, by the way, as hot as it is outside. And, I figure people are still calling him coach, even though he has transitioned to athletic director role. We got the new athletic director now for Ponca City, Joe Turner. Good to have you along.
Thank you.
Can I just call you coach? I mean, it's probably never going to end, right?
Right, yes, sir.
So, all right. Well, I kind of want to go through things and let people get to know you a little bit. So, let's start it off, kind of your journey. And I mean, I want to go back to even graduate of Pawnee way back in the day. And I was talking to Harmon earlier about some maybe connections you guys had, and then you coached at Woodland. You went to Oklahoma State. So. Kind of talk about the story that led you to, I just want to say, getting into coaching to start.
All right, I think a lot of kids growing up in Oklahoma, myself included, it probably happened back when I was about 7 years old. I felt a love for sports and just the competition, started out in Little League Baseball. And, I always tell everybody my favorite sport was the sport that was in season, played everything. But I'd probably say baseball was probably my favorite growing up because that's the first sport you play as a young boy. I was always the youngest one in the neighborhood, so I had to grow up fast. So there's a lot of competition in my neighborhood. I was the youngest one, but just fell in love for sports, the competition, and just I got into coaching. When I graduated from Oklahoma State, graduated from Pawnee, played everything. I was for sport. I did baseball and track. And I always tell my coaches that if a kid wants to play multiple sports, it's a coach's job to get him to play multiple sports because it happened back when I was in high school, and I never knew there was no issue with the track coach and baseball coach. So kids should be able to allow to be playing multiple sports, and coaches do a good job at that of letting them do that. Then after I got to college. I told my buddies that I was going to go get a fall baseball and spring baseball job and live happily ever after. But, you know how that, Lord, God has a different plan for you, and God didn't coach football and love every minute of it, and I just, I've coached basketball, done some track, and did a lot of baseball and football coaching. That was mainly football and baseball. And then when I was at Woodland, to my third year, Coach Klopp, who'd been there for a long time, he retired, and so the job was offered to me as athletic director. So, and I really enjoyed that because just going to games, I mean, I love going to sporting events, athletic events. Having four daughters, had to go to a lot of softball games, and I'm still going to softball games. Right. I've been to every softball game so far this year, and the girls are playing well here. We're 6-1, so I enjoy just. Like you said, putting that other hat on full row as AD. I think my Friday nights would be a lot less stressful, and Saturday mornings I wake up happier. And Sunday afternoons I can watch some NFL games.
Well, unless something goes wrong, you're going to be in good shape. You know how that goes. But you have an interesting journey to get here. You were at Okemah.
Yes, sir.
And now. Okemah, not the smallest school. It's not Woodland, for instance, but you get into now being an athletic director, and you kind of wore multiple hats, and you did that with different coaching, and then even at Okemah. Mm-hmm. So what made you want, and what caught your attention about possibly coming to Ponca City?
Well, of course, in Oklahoma Coach Association, the website, they present jobs, and I also looked on the OSBA website, and I saw the Ponca City job, athletic director, open. And me and my wife, we had talked about, probably last couple of years, really. So, hey, it'd be great to get back up to northern Oklahoma, be, Stillwater area, because we always came to OSU games anyway, football-wise. Basketball couldn't attend very many of those, hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes back to Okemah. But I always went to all the OSU football games. We're season ticket holders. And, it would just be great to get back up in that area. And when I saw the job that was open, I thought, man, to me, that's an elite job. Now, some people may not consider that, but to me, it was an elite job. I mean, I always looked at Ponca City, my two oldest daughters, who are both speech path major or have got speech path jobs now. we always played Little League basketball, Little League softball in Ponca City, So Ponca City, we was always in Ponca City a lot, when I was living in Fairfax. And so just, it's just like moving back home, moving back up to God's country. And I love Northern Oklahoma, graduating Pawnee, like you said, So always, biggest portion of my life has been spent in Northern Oklahoma, except the last 14's been in Okemah.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, you go from a smaller school to a bigger school now, and 6A2 is that classification, right? But 6A1, but
Right.
You have multiple sports going on. You need bigger athletic budgets. I mean, there's so much involved. More coaches, all that. How are things? And I know you're not in the midst of the seasons yet, but since you've come in, how are you finding things that are different at a bigger school compared to the smaller school?
Right, I think you touched on that. The budget wise, I think there's a lot more hats that people, like I did not have no secretary ever for athletics. Rebecca is amazing, she's great, and a lot of people, they may have a title, and that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, there are more hats, more people involved in the system. Athletic director office, having Stony Parks as assistant AD, which is great. I mean, I tell people all the time. I mean, I thought I was living a dream, when I was coaching football, but I think I'm really living my dream now of being able to attend multiple events. Because even coaching football, my oldest daughters, playing softball, I would catch maybe 2 or 3 innings of their game after football practice. I'd rush down the softball field, and so now actually just watching all the sports. I mean, I just you get into coaching and teaching because you love kids,
right?
And watching kids develop, watching them mature and grow up. It's a blessing that only you as a coach can receive. When you see that happen.
Well, and that's an interesting thing, and it sounds like the family part of it's a big part of the decision naturally, but as an athletic director, you're not just focused on that 1 or 2 sports you may be coaching. Pretty much all those kids are your kids, in a way,
exactly.
and that seems like the philosophy you've had your whole life is you're going to treat the kids like they're your own kids. That's what you want to do, and to me, that's the biggest compliment you can give a coach. Anybody in athletics is saying, hey, 20 years from now, you know what you did for me?
Right.
We really appreciate you. And I think that's kind of a philosophy you subscribe to, right?
You're exactly right. I mean, it's great to win games, and believe me, coaches love win games, but when it's all said and done, you look back of have I made a difference in that person's life, because, kids, we hear stories all the time, and you don't have just all the kids on your team that had that perfect lifestyle. You got kids that come from some broken homes and all that. And I can rely. And I tell kids all the time, I can relate to a lot of things you guys going through. My parents got divorced, so I can relate to things you're going through. And just watching them go on to college. And one prime example is Casey Goat, who's the head coach at Woodland. Casey was a 7th grader when I got to Woodland, and now he's the head coach, and he's doing a fine job there. And I always told Casey, I said, you're going to make more money than me because you're a lot smarter than me. And here he went into coaching. So, I don't know.
Calling's a calling, right? I mean, that's kind of the way it is.
Right.
So what's something that's maybe surprised you since you've made this transition? And you've talked about a few things, but it can be good or bad, but something that it's like, whoa, I didn't expect this.
I think everything's been positive so far. I know we're in the honeymoon phase, and that may change in a heartbeat. But I just, and I told Mr. Leamy, that everybody that I've met, especially in this building, and even the parents I've met, is everybody is just super friendly. I mean, nice and everything, and then really. And maybe that's part of my personality. I can easily get along with people. I like to talk sports, So when I go to softball games, I talk to some of the dads there and visit with them, and I visited with Jesse Goldman the other day. Jesse, he's a Fairfax boy, so I've known Jesse for a while. And some people you know, and you just kind of make that reacquaintance with them. You know, you haven't seen them in a while. So, right now I'm loving everything about the job. You know, and it's been a blessing to me.
Well, you've had a little bit of time to think, and it may not be one of those things where you're trying to just set out true goals. You're just kind of getting your feet wet. But is there something you've looked at and maybe a goal you've set for yourself in year one?
Well, it is. I mean, I always tell coaches, man, I have a simple formula, you know, and that's building character in young men and young women and winning championships. And those winning championships, you know, people say, well, we'll win state championship. Well, it may not be state, it may be conference, it may be district, but hey, we're improving each day. And my motto has always been pretty simple. Hey, just get better every day, each day. When you come to work and you come to practice, hey, get better, get better. Uh, so. You know, I think with that simple motto, you know, and I think those wins, and I believe Ponca City, you know, hey, um, we are sitting on a gold mine. I think we're on the verge of, you know, being in those elite categories, you know, football, you know, they've been, definitely improved since Coach Harmon's been here. The high steppers, they're maintaining, they're great. The wrestling has always had great tradition here, and you know, you know, and they've had some great baseball teams here too in the past. You know, I think just sustaining those programs and building some consistency in those programs, having coaches, you know, stay here longer, you know, because you need that consistency in those programs. If you want to build a program, those coaches need to be here for longevity.
Agreed. Yeah, and then that kind of, I mean, I said short term year one. That's kind of going the same thing with your long term goals, right?
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
that consistency is so important. I mean, I've talked to kids at other schools and they had a different coach. Sometimes had 5 coaches in 4 years, and it's just hard on that, and it's hard for I think most people,
Right.
when they get into coaching, they're doing it to affect young people's lives.
Right.
And it's hard to do that if you're not there, you know.
Right.
And so I think that consistency is very, very important. And I think you've seen that maybe with hires that happened before you were here.
Right.
You want to look at people that it's not a stepping stone; they want to be here.
Exactly. You're exactly right. You know, and you know, you're right. I endured most of the staff that's on board. We've hired some, you know, but there are great coaches here already in the system, you know, that are in place. Our job is just, you know, hey, if there's any deficiencies that they want to get better at, hey, let's get them coaching clinics, you know, and all that, and become a better coach. Because I mean, you know how it is. You know, back when I was 24, all I needed was the team, and I was going to go win. Now, 30 years later, I'm like, man, I don't know anything now. You know, but back in 24, I knew everything. But you know how that goes. You can continue, and that, like I said, you know, as a player, you come to practice every day and get better. But as a coach, you know, you should be as that same philosophy, you know, of getting better, learning, you know, because somebody always has a new wrinkle out there that you could, you know, install in your offense, you know. But yeah, having that consistency and kids knowing that terminology, because like you said, you know, you got different coaches coming in each year. The terminology changes.
Yes.
Maybe doing the same thing, but the terminology changes, you know. And
Yeah. They all of a sudden, kid, you come in, you're saying something different, even though it's the same thing. They stare at you like a cow looking at a new gate, you know.
And
And
that's not what we call that. You know, yeah.
I kind of want to go. What do you see maybe as kind of your biggest challenge going into this first year? I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
This is courtesy Harmon. He said, "Don't softball the questions." By the way.
I think just the job of you know, when I accepted the position, I had buddies, you know, text me, you know, tell me congratulations, you know. And they said, hey man, hey, good job, man. Hey, that's quite a job, you know. That's, you know, and it's challenging, you know, but I believe, you know, that with the leaders we have here in this school system, it has made it easier for me. They are, you know, they let you do your job, you know. They're Mr. Lehman, he's not a micromanager. He just lets you go and do your job, you know, and I appreciate that. You know, it's you know, new position, but maybe new job, but I've had that position, you know, and you know, it's just like you said, you know, a lot of sports, you know, and it is challenging. You know, you like to catch all the events, but you're not going to catch them all.
Right.
You know, Uh, I know that's where we got Coach Parks. He catches some events. So missing out on some events, I don't really like that because I like watching all the events. And I know at multiple sports playing, I really hadn't had to miss too many events the last probably about 20 years.
Yeah.
Probably most of them, but do miss events now. But I think just challenging us. I don't know. I think my challenge is just to get all the coaches working as a group, a unit, making sure we're sharing athletes if we haven't. And I think, they've, pretty much have done a pretty good job with that. I know coaches, being in small schools, you would think that there'd be more sharing players, but it'll shock you that
Yes.
coaches can be very selfish, and that just hurts the kid, because growing up, when I was a kid, I wanted to play everything, and I think if I had a coach would have told me, hey, you just need to stick to football, you need to stick to baseball. I don't know. I might would have turned against that coach and not play that sport anymore. Because I loved everything. So I think kids getting opportunities to play sports because these things just last once in a while. Because when you get old like us, those sports pass you by.
Well, and that's something I kind of want to get into. I've felt in my time here at Ponca, there has been a good philosophy under multiple athletic directors and coaches of making it an avenue for kids to play multiple sports. And I have seen schools where it's not like that. And like you said, small schools, some people say it's the advantage. You get to play everything. I've seen small schools where it wasn't like that. That coach is like, hey, if you want to play, you got to be here 24/7. So I really like that philosophy. I'm glad that you've continued kind of with that philosophy because it's not even just sports. It's like, hey, a kid's also an FFA. A kid's also got this going on.
Right.
These kids, 99% of kids aren't going to go play college ball.
Correct.
And they're making memories that are going to last them a lifetime.
Right.
And I know for me, if I wasn't involved in everything I was involved in, including the sports, those memories are things, and those are friends that have lasted a lifetime. So I love the fact that you're coming into a situation like that, but also want to continue it.
Right. You're exactly right. You mentioned the FFA. My time at Woodland, the FFA teacher there, Jeff Neiman, his boy Cody Neiman played football for me, and I was talking to Mr. Frazier the other day. I said I always had a good relationship with FFA teacher. I grew up on a farm myself. I grew up in the country, Anyhow, Cody Neiman was actually the state president of Oklahoma, and anyway, he'd go to national convention, and we had one of our biggest games against Pawnee for district championship. We're both 8-0, and Cody was my center. And I don't have my center there for 3 days of practice.
Right.
And but I told Cody, hey, you need to go to that national future. Hey, we're all about, hey, if you don't know the plays by now, hey, we're in trouble already anyway. This is week 9. So, but yeah, I agree that you have to have those relationships with coaches, with other faculty, to have success in the sports field.
I missed one football game my whole career. Missed one football game senior year. It was because National FFA convention. Because my grandpa was an ag teacher.
Okay.
Now he had retired by the time I was a senior, but it was something important to me too. And I love that correspondence, if you will. And that's not just that's a credit to the institution that Ponca has overall because it's not just like that with sports. It's like that with other things as well. So I really do like that. I also want to ask, it has to be a huge advantage, and you've hinted at this a little bit, but you have Rebecca there at secretary who pretty much during the summer, during the transition, ran things in a lot of ways. And then you have Stoney, who is just a great person and understands everything, a guy that is really a good administrator himself with what he does. That has to be great resources for somebody coming in, just somebody new coming in to be able to lean on them to get to know people, but also to know that things were in good shape once you got here.
Exactly. I bragged on Rebecca. I said, not too many secretaries know OSSA rules like she does.
Yeah.
And what coaches are supposed to be doing. She sent out email before I even had a chance to tell her, hey, we need to send out email to the coaches, make sure they take care of their NFHS test, concussion, heat, illness, and sudden cardiac arrest. And she's already on top of that. I said, how'd you know all that stuff? I mean, she's pretty sharp. She knows the ins and outs about athletics, and she is a great asset. I mean, I tell you what, like I said, she knows OSSA rules, and I was leader, and we had several hardship cases, and I can pretty much tell my dealings with OSSA. Once you've been athletic director and filing hardships, you know exactly kind of verbiage they expect or they want. So most of the time you get kids approved, unless it's just a no-brainer that they won't get it approved, if there's no bona fide move or whatever,
Right.
But yeah, most of the time we can get those kids approved, and then OSSA they have gotten better. They have gotten better at proving those hardships. They used to be a juggernaut.
Oh, it was tough.
They wouldn't prove any of them, and of course, if I've had my run-ins with them, like I don't get that how you don't approve this kid. It's definitely a hardship, but they wouldn't prove it. So
Well, yeah, it is interesting that things have changed, and I mean, sports got to have a governing body.
right,
It's kind of like the NCAA. Everybody always wants to pick on the governing body, right?
right.
But you got to have that because they put the rules in place and everything. But that kind of leads me. I know you have maybe some more dealings with the OSSA outside of even your Ponca City capacity
Right.
because the stuff going on with the Oklahoma Coaches Association. Tell
Right.
us how you got into that, and I mean now you're dealing a lot with that because
Right.
you're sitting there as the president.
Right. Yeah. First started out, I was Region 2 rep, and Coach Harmon actually, he's fulfilling a Region 2 rep this year because our Region 2 rep moved out of the region, went to Metro Christian. But I've been in Region 2, with Woodland, Okema. So I've been in Region 2 for a long time. And the thing is, attending those meetings, and I know sometimes they can be tough. The first meetings during football playoffs, right there, usually about first round, early November. And you always think, man, Wednesday night coaches, man, that's my only night really get off, I mean,
Right.
So, it's 3 meetings a year. I've always tried to make it, maybe not mandatory, but encourage coaches to attend those meetings to develop, relationships with other coaches because you never know who's going to be on those all-state committees, all-star by class committees, and developing those relationships and hey, hey, you get a kid nominated, hey, hey, you mind, hey, he's a good kid. Hey, make sure you check his film out. I mean,
Right.
I'm not going to tell you, hey, he needs to be on there, but I give him a good look. And most time they can get your kid on there. I think that comes with it. But I was elected Region 2 rep back in, I guess it was 19, and then we had to go through that pandemic,
Yeah.
and I was part of the board that, things were getting shut down, and it's the first time ever the Oklahoma Coach Association we had to shut down the clinic last
Yeah.
summer, which was tough, because a lot of kids, not only did they get their basketball season shut down. I know Ponca City girls were going
Ponca
for
girls,
years,
yeah. I was actually,
and-
in fact, the story on that. I was in Kansas City covering Oklahoma State basketball at the Big 12 tournament, and they had won their game. And I was actually driving back from Kansas. They shut down the tournament, and we get in the truck, and I was coming back anyways. And I'm like, we're not going to have high school state championship.
Right.
And they called it about an hour after we got on the road, and those girls never got their shot to
No.
trying to make it. And so many kids and opportunities are just lost during that time.
Right, it happened just like that. At first, I thought it was a big joke. Things get shut.
Yeah.
I thought, are you kidding me? Because I got a text that that the power system was being shut down. I thought, are you serious, man? What for?
Yeah.
I mean, but anyhow,
It all started with Oklahoma City Thunder. You remember that?
It sure did. It sure did. And but anyhow, we went through that pandemic, and then so I actually, normally I was Region 2 or any region rep, you serve 2 years. Well, that I served 3 years because we just rolled it over. So I served 3 years as Region 2 rep, and then last year I was vice president. And then this year I'm serving in the capacity of the president of the OCA, and so it's a great honor to serve that as a president. You're elected by your peers to be in there, and so it is a great honor. I always tell people, people see me at ball games, at softball games, and I know a lot of umpires and know a lot of coaches. They say, "Man, you know everybody." I said, "No, nah, just that just means I'm getting old." You know.
Well, I mean that's a good thing, better than the alternative, right?
Right.
So, I do want to get into a couple of things. So, and just sports and maybe OSSA involved as well, because the one thing that sticks out is basketball districts. We're moving to a district model of basketball. Those districts are now out
Right.
for the Ponca City Wildcats. If you want to go look at that, this has been something that that's been talked about. It seems like for 20-something years, but never has really happened.
Right.
And I know the coaches have a big say
Right.
and stuff like that as well.
Right.
So, do you find this beneficial? And of course, you come from background of both small and big schools. You've really been in what I call the small, medium, and the big.
Right.
So, do you think this is beneficial, especially for 6A going forward?
I believe so. Because one thing the coaches wanted to, that's the main thing, and it's easy for scheduling.
Well, we don't have a vote. That's the other thing is like you go back to the coach association,
Right.
get to know, not just with getting athletes,
Right.
maybe state.
Right.
Basketball is sometimes a scratch my back, I'll scratch your situation.
Exactly. Yes, and that can happen. You're exactly right, and it's just like like the OFBCA advisory board. They get together as a committee and put those districts together. Now, 9% of the time, the OSSA takes those recommendations. Now, sometimes they don't, and this last time they didn't take our recommendation, and we're still looking into that matter. See if I've talked to. Once again, you go back and you know people. So I visit with some OSSA board of directors that's on there, and they said, well, we did approve of that, but we thought that was what coaches wanted. I said, well, no. I said, my understanding is, and Coach Harmon's on that committee.
Right.
That Ponca was never on any district alignment. Going to the east. We was going to the west. And so I said, no. I said, we might want to check this out. And so Coach Jenkins, who's at O'Keene, and he owes me because every time Woodland played O'Keene, they beat us in state championship. So he owes
Right,
me.
yeah.
He owes me.
He owes you.
He's way ahead of me, But anyhow, he said, well, we're going to look into that, So they may look at it next board meeting, and maybe that district may not be finalized.
Well, that's what I was saying, because they had made an announcement, and then I saw the OSSA actually released an email saying, hey, sorry, we jumped the gun on this. This isn't finalized.
Right.
So I didn't realize that maybe there was a little bit more
Right.
close to home involving
Right.
that here in Ponca City.
Right. So,
Because, I mean, you are fighting, and
Right.
we're talking about this is difference in attendance,
Yep.
for games, for instance. This is difference in coaches, possibly careers.
Exactly.
And Ponca has benefited in football a
Right,
lot from
right.
going to the West. Now, I know the new
Yep.
playoff rules have helped going to six teams,
Right.
but being in the West gave Ponca the opportunity to win a playoff game at
Right.
home last year for the first time since
Exactly.
2005.
And you always want to, schools are a lot, you get a certain amount of points for wins, district wins, and all
Right.
that. And you get that power rating, kind of like,
Yeah.
football, college football does. But anyhow, the East is stacked for the next
No
2
doubt.
years. If we stay in the East is they are stacked to the max. As of the West, you have Choctaw and Deer Creek over there. And everybody else, McGinnis is coming up, and McGinnis, you know how that is.
Yeah.
We all know how private schools operate. They're going
Right.
they're going to find some cats, but they're going to be pretty good. But other than that, it's wide open. I think you could take six teams from what the OSA board approved. 6 of those teams could make playoffs over there, and I know how that works because when I was at Woodland, we were stuck in tough district we was in there with Tonkawa, Hominy,
Yeah.
Pawnee, and then they threw Haskell in there when Haskell.
I called a few of those
You know.
games. I actually was doing radio and called Pawnee at the time.
Yeah.
So I saw a few,
Yeah.
and that was Pawnee had some good history, and that was tough for them to
yes.
even win in that district.
Yeah, we had some. Like I said, there was some battles. When you when you played in that district, you were ready for playoffs if you made the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, if you were healthy still.
Well, and I mean, you would see that a lot of times too. The third or fourth seed would beat some of those teams from that district because that district was just so much better and head and shoulders. And with just two districts in 6A1 and 6A2, you are trying to find a good balance. And that's the reason some people are like, hey. So why not just do the geography thing?
Right.
They have never really done that. So you're trying to find that right competitive balance, and that's the reason you do it every couple of years.
Right. Exactly. And also, it's beneficial. It's far as incentive, far as financial wise. If you get in other West, well, you can probably get a home playoff game.
Right.
Whether you stay in the East and you finish 5th or 6th, where you're going to be traveling. And being in the West.
Well, and your kids don't get an extra game.
Exactly.
Because all of a sudden you're playing 1 and 2, and that district may be 1 and 2 in the state at that time.
Exactly right. Yep.
I mean, we saw that with Bixby and Stillwater at times, right? Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot to get into it. I mean, I could sit here and talk shop with you all day about this stuff, frustrations, complaints, compliments, all that good stuff. Because I also gets people kind of an idea of what it's like to be an athletic director, because you're dealing, and this will be kind of two more things for you. You're dealing with so much. You're dealing with coaches coming to you, athletes coming to you, parents of athletes coming to you. You're dealing with the administrative stuff with the OSSAA. You're dealing with administration that's on top of you because you're a department of the school. So there's so much, and there's crises that come up that you got to put to the front of the list. But prioritization, trying to figure out what's priority, what do I need to get done today, staying on top of things and make sure you're getting them done in a prompt time. It makes a big difference. So that's probably the one thing that kind of the question is, how are you planning to balance all that? I know you've done a lot of it in your life, but it's different now to 6A school.
Right. You just have to, manage your time. And I always, older I've gotten, I always had to put notes in my phone. Hey, this is my priorities for tomorrow, and making sure, you're crossing all your T's and dotting your I's, because, you're right. There is a lot of time management that you have to deal with.
And sitting in bed at night and thinking about scenarios that can happen and how you're going to handle those too.
Right, and that's why I tell everybody, and I've had some buddies reach out to me and say, well, how's it going up there? I said, oh, it's going great. I said, instead of staying awake at night thinking of how we're going to stop so-and-so, now you're thinking of, hey, this is what I got to get done tomorrow,
Right.
It's just different, but you know how it is, I've never been a person to get a lot of sleep anyway, so I mean, I'm usually going on 4 or 5 hours. I've always done that for the last 30 years, and your body's just kind of used to it,
Well, you're looking good for about 4 or 5 hours of sleep. If I don't get 8, I'm in trouble.
Well, I try to, and I know, like you mentioned earlier, there are challenges, I mean, I think one of our biggest challenges right now is that softball field. Are we going to get any home games? I mean, that's a challenge, and you hate it for those senior girls, I mean, the other girls, they're gonna be fine, I mean, they're gonna have their senior year, but it's those seniors that, they get cut short of their home games.
Well, not only that, those are seniors that were probably freshmen during COVID, right?
Right.
So
yes,
that went through some of that too.
Right.
So last thing, and what I like to do when somebody's new in a position is I like to basically give them the floor, give them the camera, and let people know. And I think for you, kind of how you're going to manage the athletic department, but also know kind of who you are and kind of like what you're like, what parents, what fans need to know about Joe Turner when it comes to how he's going to manage Ponca City athletics.
Well, first off, hey, what you gonna get is you're gonna get somebody that's gonna be personable. I'm gonna visit with. Hey, my door is open, always open. As far as parents, if you have any, there's always issues with coaches. My policy has always been, I've told the coaches this, hey, that there needs to be a parent-coach meeting first, before you come to the athletic director. Most of the time things get ironed out during those meetings. If not, they come visit me. But my door is always open. You're more than welcome to come in and talk to me. Now, whether agree, disagree, I'll probably send you to that coach, and visit with them. But I think with my personality, see him at the game. I'll definitely communicate with you and visit with you. You know, now I remember your name, probably not. I've had about 200 people introduce me to me, and I mean, I may know their last name, may not know their first name, I know who their daughter is.
That's your goal for the first year is get everybody's name down.
Yeah, exactly. But no, you know, I'm, you know, I tell you, I like I said a while ago, yeah, I've been blessed with some good kids in my coaching, you know, and I'm fortunate that won more than I've lost, and I think my job is here. Sometimes the coaches need coached, you know, and we got some young coaches, and you know, I've always told them, hey, you know, come visit with me. You know, I may not have the answer, but I can tell you how I did things, and it worked for me. Now, whether it works for you, I don't know, but you know, try to guide them in the direction, and you know, I want to see all of our athletic teams being successful, and you know, I've always made when I went to Okemah, you know, I said we need to be that school of the year. They don't even have those school of the year awards anymore. You know, they used to have those school of the year awards, and then one year we were real close. You know, we were state champions in basketball. We were state champions in powerlifting. We were in the regional finals in softball. We were state runner-up in track. We had some good ones, but the school over there by Oklahoma City, Washington, a little bit better than us, man. They had some athletes, but that's always the goal. You know, you want to be, and the fall sports kick it off. I mean, you know, I was always told, hey, as a football coach, hey coach, you get the ball rolling with everybody else. Football wins, we're all going to win this year because they just, you know, winning is contagious, and so. All fall sports are off to a good start. I know football is getting ready to kick off here next Friday, but I look for them to continue their success. I know they got some youth out there on defense. You know, offense. You know, I watched them scrimmage the other night. They've got some pieces of the puzzle that they can be successful. You know, and but no, I've kind of come into a gold mine with all the building going on, the new indoor facility. Which is going to be immaculate. You know, it's going to be second to none.
You're getting the benefits without even having
that.
Yeah,
I am. You know, they would say, "Man, look what he's done, man. I haven't done anything." that's already put in place before I got here. But no, I just welcome community. Hey, you know, come up, talk to me if I haven't met you. You know, well, I remember your name, maybe not. You know, but anyhow, what you're going to get is you're going to see somebody that's going to be there at ball games, supporting our teams. You know, that's just what I've always done. You know, and somebody that's going to care for their children. You know, I'm going to look out for the best, and we want all of our kids going to the next level. You know, helping them out, try to get that next level. They may not be D1, maybe D2, or maybe going the JUCO route, but you know, we want our kids moving on to the next level.
Yeah. And if they don't go to the next level, they got a benefit by playing sports in Ponca City and memories that last a lifetime.
Exactly, yes, sir.
Well, Joe, really appreciate your time. Thank you for doing this, and we'll be talking to you a lot more in the future. New athletic director here at Ponca City, that is Joe Turner. That's going to do it for Coach's Corner. This episode has been brought to you by Culligan Water, so appreciate their sponsorship here of Coach's Corner. Jordan Woodruff saying until next time, go Cats.